So far, with the queries that we've been writing, we've been returning all the rows in each table. However, what if we wanted to filter the rows that are returned so that only those that meet a particular condition are returned in the output? We can use the SQL where clause to do this. Let's start off with a simple example where we want to filter some of the rows in the film table. So firstly, let's just look at the film table again. And we can see that with the rental duration that the data type of that column is a number. It's got this 1, 2, 3 icon in the corner. And that makes sense because the rental duration is a number. It's just the number of days that this film can be rented out. So what if we just wanted to write a query to get all the films that have a rental duration of 5 days? Let's go and do that. And now we're going to introduce our new where clause. And we can execute that. Okay, and that appears to have worked. We got 191 rows returned, and all of those films have a rental duration of 5. Here we use the equals symbol to check for equality, but we can use all sorts of other comparison operators. So I'll write a comment now just listing out all the different comparison operators that are available to us. So we can use equals, which we just used now. We can do less than, we can do greater than, we can do less than or equal to, we can do greater than or equal to, and we can also do not equal to. And there's two different ways that you can do this. You can do this, or you could write it as this. This greater than, less than way is actually the standard way to do it, and this is the non-standard way, but it's actually very commonly supported across a wide variety of database engines, so often you can just use that as well. So let's give some of these different comparison operators a test spin. So we've already used equals to look for when the rental duration is 5. What if we wanted to see films where the rental duration was greater than 5 days? We would replace this, and we can run that. And we've got 403 rows returned, and all of those films have a rental duration of greater than 5. What if we wanted to do less than? And that appears to have worked. If we scroll the output, we can see they're all less than 5. And what if we wanted to do not equal to 5? And again, if we scroll our output, that appears to have worked. What if instead now we wanted to filter on a column in a table which is a text or string data type? Let's go and have a look at our customer table. So let's clear this query off, and now let's just have a look at the customer table. And we can execute that. And we can see that there are columns first name and last name, and they appear to be text. By the way, we'll be talking about data types in a little bit more detail coming up. This is just a quick first look at them and how to query against them. What if we now wanted to return all the customers with the first name of Mary? Again, we can use all those same types of comparison operators that we have in the comments there. So let's just try using equals. We didn't get any results. Why is that? When you're comparing using a text data type, it's actually going to be case sensitive. So in this situation, there are no customers with the first name Mary in lowercase, but there is a customer with the first name Mary in uppercase. So we can run that, and now we have our match. So just remember when you're doing comparisons with text data types that it is case sensitive. And coming up, I will show you some more powerful text filtering and searching techniques that will allow you to deal with uppercase or lowercase. Notice here as well that we used single quotation marks around this text. So when you're writing in string literals in SQL, you use single quotes. And don't get that confused with double quotes, which you only use for column or table identifiers, like we saw when we were doing column aliasing. You can also use all the other comparison operators on text, just like you did with numbers previously. So if you wanted to see all of the customers with a first name that's not Mary, you could just change that to not equal to, and we could run that. And we can also use greater than or less than operators. and there it's going to use dictionary alphabetic ordering to do the comparison. Incidentally, just going back to that first example where we were looking for customers with the first name Mary, if you weren't sure whether the first name was stored as uppercase or lowercase, you actually already know one technique that you could do to handle that. What you could do is use the function that you already learned about, lower, and run that. So your where clause can contain expressions as well. You can use all these same types of comparison operators against dates and times as well. So let's just go and have a look at the rental table first. And we're already pretty familiar with the rental table by now, but we know that there's a column called rental date, and that rental date column is a date time type. In Postgres, that's actually referred to as a timestamp. So you can come down here and hover over this clock icon, and you can see that it says timestamp. And what that means is that this column stores dates and times. Something that's quite handy in dbeaver, if you're ever curious about the different types of your columns, is you can go over to your ERD, and what you can do is you can right-click anywhere in the background, go to View Styles, and go Show Data Types. And what that will show you then is next to every column, the different data type that's being used. A lot of these won't be familiar to you just yet. There's a video coming up where we're going to walk through the different data types in a bit more detail, but this is a useful view to have on all the time. Okay, so we were looking at the rental table, and let's say that we wanted to only return rentals that were made in 2006. How would we do that? Well, we could make use of this new where clause, and what we can do is say where rental date greater than or equal to 2006 1st of January. And we can execute that, and we can see that it's only returned rentals from 2006. Did you notice here how we had to write the date in single quotes? And we also use this format, year-month-day. What's actually happening behind the scenes is you used single quotes, so this is a text literal, and then that text literal was converted or casted to a date for the purposes of comparison with the rental date. You always want to use a date format that's unambiguous. So in this case, year, month, day is unambiguous. That's an ISO standard way to write a date. If instead you tried to do month, day, year, or day, month, year, you could get unexpected results when it does that conversion of that text literal to a date. So always use year, month, date as I've written it here. One final thing I want to point out, when using the equal sign with dates, let me just reset things back to showing all of the rows. We can see that there was a rental made on the 24th of May 2005. So what if we wanted to filter on that and return that? We want to see all rentals that were made on the 24th of May 2005. You may try and do this initially. Okay, and you would think if you run this that you might get all of those rentals that were made on that day. Let's give it a go. But we didn't get any results, so what happened here? What happened is that rental date is actually storing a timestamp that contains both a date and a time. So when you use the equals symbol here, it was looking for an exact match not only on that date, but also that time. So again, let's just comment this out for a second, this where part of the clause. Let's come up here, let's rerun this query, which is just select star from rental. And we can see that what the actual value is of the rental date column is the 24th of May 2005, 10:54 p.m. and 33 seconds. So if we want to use the equal sign to perform a match, we would actually have to enter in that exact value. So let's go and do that now. We can uncomment that. Let's come in here, let's write 22, 54, 33, and now we can run that. And now we've got our exact match. And we can use all the other comparison operators as well. So if you want to use not equal to, we can do that. If you want to use greater than, we can do that. And all those standard comparison operators apply and work just the same on dates as they do on numbers and text. This was a quick look at the where clause in select statements and how you can use the where clause to filter the returned rows in your table against all the different kinds of data types. Have a go at these in the exercises, and then in the next video we'll look at combining logical expressions with and or.